Closed session for item 4.1. There is nothing to report. And then 4.2 and 4.3 were not addressed. Opening items, we need to start with a motion to approve the agenda. Can I get a first?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Great, and a second?
I second.
Oh,
We have
you got it.
discussion. That's all
Yes.
right. I just want to point out that it seems like we have a right number in here to fit the chairs. We tried to spread them out, arm's distance. With the given capacity, we really can only have about 24 people in here to do that. If for some reason more and more people come that want to make public comment, we'll probably have to manage that outdoors and try to just bring people in at the time. And our goal is to keep it to this number of chairs and hope that people keep arm's distance as we're supposed to do.
Okay, great. So we have a motion and a second from Jerry and Phyllis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, so now moving on to our flag salute. We're going to have that tonight by video from one of our students.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's try that again.
Ready, salute. Lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Okay. So, and thank you to our Blue Hills student, Keshav Iyer, for leading us in the pledge. So we're going to move on to stick to this, right? So classified employee first before public comment?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on to classified employee of the month. So do we have Samuel Perez with us? You want to join us up at the podium, and I'm going to tell you how this works. So I'm going to read for you the statement that was turned in so that you can hear what lovely things people had to say, and then we'll offer an opportunity if anybody's here to speak tonight, and then offer you an opportunity as well if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So our district classified employee of the month tonight is to honor Samuel Perez, who is a purchasing analyst and is in our purchasing department, nominated by Stephanie Filios, who is a buyer in purchasing. And the following nomination was submitted. Sam is a valuable asset to the purchasing warehouse department. He goes above and beyond for our customers, all schools, and all departments, and does so every day with a huge smile on his face. Since I joined the department, Sam has been my mentor and has taken me under his wing to do the best he can without expecting any accolades. Sam is knowledgeable about our products. He understands and practices the fine art of handling difficult situations and gets jobs done without issues. Sam makes every day in the office an exciting learning opportunity. He is truly an everyday hero. Thank you so much for what you do. Is there anybody here who wanted to say anything on behalf of our Employee of the Month tonight? Great. Mahmood is going to join us.
So I've known Sam since I've started here, and I got to tell you, I think with IT being a large purchaser of equipment and needing to rely on purchasing quite a bit, Sam has been great for us. He's very flexible. He works great with us with tight timelines and things like that. So I got to say, Sam's been a great asset for us, for the IT team, and I think for the whole district, and we're glad we have him here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent. And I think we have CSEA here as well.
This is from your brothers and sisters in CSEA.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. Job well done.
Great. Thank you.
Do you want to say
Dorothy,
something?
you want to say something as well?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, Sam, this is for you, a little token of my appreciation. So I want to congratulate you for being Employee of the Month for March, and I want to thank you for everything that you do in purchasing department. And I know it's been there's a lot of challenges this last couple of months.
Yeah.
But I saw how you continue to, step up to the plate, and you're always kind to everybody. You're always helpful, so it really means to us. We really appreciate that. So
Thank
I
you.
want to thank you for your willingness to be part of the team, and your commitment to CUSD is deeply appreciated. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so Sam, if you have anyone here tonight you want to introduce, or if you have any comments you want to. Great.
Hi, Virginia.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yay.
All right. All right.
That is my family. That's
Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you.
All right, great, thank you. And Sam, I have from the board our certificate of appreciation and a little something for you in there too. Thank you so much for all you do. And I know we're not supposed to shake hands, so I'll elbow bump. Thank you so much on behalf of the district. All right. So, moving us right along, our school highlight tonight is Blue Hills Elementary School. So I believe we have a video here tonight. And Audrey, our principal from Blue Hills, is here. Great. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, board. So the children, my children in the video, when I told them that they couldn't be here, we were doing a video. I would say that one boy tried not to cry and turned around and wiped a tear.
Aw.
They really wanted to be here in person, but at the last minute we went ahead and did the video, and they said, well, are you going to introduce us? So, without further ado, these are the fourth graders in two of our classrooms, and they would like to share all of their learning with you.
Great. Hi, kids, if you're watching.
And I'm going to lead
So we're going to skip the pledge, if that's all right with you.
start the slideshow. Good evening, school board. We are so excited to share a special project we do at Blue Hills Elementary. Our awesome teachers, Miss Tampson and Mrs. Stearns, introduced Genius Hour this year in the classroom. Sadly, our friend Ahmed cannot join us today, so here's Monica to fill in for him. Hi, my name is Monica. Genius Hour gives kids a chance to use their minds and be creative with whatever they want to learn about. Next up is Trina. Hi, my name is Trina. We wanted to take a minute to connect to the district plan. All children will progress, learn, and thrive when providing engaging learning experiences and environment. Next up is Nadine. Hi, my name is Nadine. If we look closer, see how Genius Hour is personalized learning, and students choose topics of interest. Students also take ownership of their topic. And last but not least, another thing about it is Genius Hour meets the needs of whole children. Students connect with their school communities when sharing their projects. Create a school of caring adults, peers, and community. Next up is Rishika and Tanishka. Hi, my name is Tanishka and this is Rishika. We're going to be talking about the Genius Hours process. The first step of Genius Hour is the guiding question. Second is research. Third is share. And fourth is teach. Let's start off with the guiding question. The guiding question is a topic that you want to learn more about. To research, you could talk to a person, use a book, or use the internet. You also have to list your resources. You also have to make a poster for teaching the class about what you're doing. You also have to think about how to organize it. It takes about 1 to 2 months to do this process. We also work on it every Tuesday. Next up is Raghav talking about some of the projects and posters we have done. Hi, my name is Raghav, and these are some of the projects we did in our first round. As you can see, they're very creative and unique. One person made a poster about how helicopters work, and one person made a poster about how to make an app. Next up is Monica to talk about the second round.
Hi, my name is Monica. Our second round of Genius Hour adds on to our first one, but we can choose how we want to present our learning. We can still use a poster, but we can use different methods too. We can also add on to our first topic from the first round. For example, one kid is doing how to solve a Rubik's Cube in the first round, but now in the second round they're doing how to build one. Our second round is better organized because we have done this before, so we know what we're doing. Last but not least is Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I hope we've explained how Genius Hour works and what Genius Hour is. Thank you for this huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Hopefully you got a little flavor of what's happening at Blue Hills, and I know Phyllis has been there to visit often, so thank you for this time. You weren't seeing double, we had twins in there. So thank you very much.
Excellent. So,
Thank you.
yes, thank you so much. And to our students, if you're listening at home or you see this afterwards, we really missed having you here, and we're so thankful that you shared Genius Hour with us, so thank you. All right. So moving on, so now we're to communication. 8.1 is our employee organizations. Do any of our employee organizations want to make a comment tonight? Okay, no. I'm not CSEA, and I don't see Britt or anyone from SEIU. Okay, so no employee organizations tonight. So moving on to item 9, public comment. We allot 3 minutes per person for those, and assuming you'd both like to speak now? Okay. So first up, Tony Guan.
I've done a survey, and these are just 2 copies. So each is 50 pages. I would like to take a look.
Thank you.
All right,
Leave it
thank
right
you.
here for now.
And Tony, Renee will let you know when 3 minutes has allotted. Okay, thank
3
you.
minutes, right?
Yes.
Hold on.
All right, so I actually plan to start this speech with a sneeze, but then you defeat me. So the thing that I really appreciate when I get into this room, then I was told to clean wash my hands. So I actually was prepared with my hand sanitizer as well. So this means we are really taking this seriously. So I think all of our board members, you have received my 2 emails today. So actually, I started a survey about having spring break in the next week instead of April to prevent a possible community spread of the coronavirus. That survey started around 9:30 last night, and up to this morning, around 9:30 a.m., it was more than 1,000 parents signing. And just by the time I was trying to come here, it was more than 2,000 parents signing. And there are comments on next doors and parents' mailing list as well. And I think most of our parents are very clear about this. So yes, we have all the guidance from the CDC and state and the Santa Clara County, and saying that we do not necessarily need to close the schools. But this proposal is not to close the schools, right? So we are propose a better way that we just revert the orders, and we have spring break right now. Then to make sure all of the worrying parents can take care of their kids, and a lot of parents are already working from home, right? So, but it really doesn't make sense for us to see our kids going out every day, and it's just that kind of feeling. If you're old enough, or your son are going to battlefield, right? So it's that kind of feeling, and you're worried about that. So I think we can fix it, and we can do much better than right now. Be passively waiting for the first ever case performed in our district. That first ever case may or may not happen, but once it happens, we will have a lot of parents, students, teachers, even board members being quarantined. Just think about that's at least 2 weeks. How much time we are going to waste, and I also really do not want any of our teachers risking their health. So that's basically it. I really ask the consideration of changing or rearranging our schedules. And we are not losing any teaching time or any studying time. It's just like we're doing it differently, creatively.
Tony.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then next up I have Yi Ding.
Okay, so don't worry, I probably don't have coronavirus. I was coughing yesterday a little bit, so I called up Kaiser to see if I could get a coronavirus test, and they said, no, I have to wait until my symptoms get worse before they'll see me. Okay, I might not have coronavirus, I probably don't, but you guys have coronavirus. Okay, we can do a little bit of simple math. There's 58 confirmed cases here in Santa Clara County, right? If you look at all the other countries, that means probably about 10x actual cases circulating, 580 cases. Santa Clara County has 1.8 million people. Your district is 1%, more than 1% of that. So if you do the math, you have about 8 cases already. You have 8 cases of coronavirus already. And given what we know about this disease, it doubles every 2 to 3 days. So by Monday, you have 16 cases. And we got some engineers here, you can do a little bit of binary. By the end of next week, you'll have 64 cases of coronavirus in your district. But you won't know about it because they can't get their tests, right? 2 weeks from now, that number, you doubled again, 128, doubled again, 256, right? The number goes up real fast. And you already have it here in the district. There's no way with 20,000 people, you don't have at least 1 case of coronavirus already. You just don't know about it. So unless you want to have several hundred, you have 1% of your total school population having coronavirus, you got to close the schools now. There's no other alternative. I mean, you cannot stop this when it's doubling every 2 to 3 days. And it's done it in every other country. Every other country that we know about, it's going to be the same thing here. And you already have it. It is already here. If you meet 100 people a day, in 2 weeks, you'll probably meet somebody on campus with coronavirus. That's just the math. You can do it yourself. It's not hard, right? But you already have 8 cases of coronavirus today. And you'll have 16 by the time school opens on Monday. There's no way around it. It's the only responsible thing to do is to close the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then I also have Karen Ireland. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not very tall. Pardon? Oh, this is probably okay. What do you think? Can you hear me? All right. I came not intending to speak, but I realized that the reason I'm here is very important to me, so I just want to put it in front of you. With all these very important things to consider and health and all, this kind of ties in. I am somebody who has worked for the district for oh gosh, 25, 28 years, something like 25 years, and am currently out on a leave because of various things. But anyways, well, I understand that the CEA and the district have come to an agreement, or maybe a possible agreement, about medical coverage benefits for retirees who meet certain criteria, that are 55 or older and have worked for the district for 10 plus years. And this medical coverage would be a lifesaver for people who, at 55 or older, want to retire, but still have this large gap between, let's say, 55 and 65 when you're eligible for Medicare. And the health insurance costs are, as everybody knows, skyrocketing, and it's also very, very important to have health insurance. So this, I understand, is being considered as offered to CSEA and SCIA also, and kind of under negotiation. And I'm here to encourage, however, whenever this comes in front of you, or you get the point at which your approval is necessary, I'm here to encourage that you really strongly consider this. I know that as a 25 or so year employee, I'm actually the person you want to retire. I'm expensive to you. I know that. I am expensive to you because I've reached the top of my pay scale. I have that longevity, all those wonderful benefits, and I have earned them because I've worked hard for this district. But I'm a little stuck right now. I would see this as a mutually beneficial arrangement, and that would help people who are interested in retiring and not waiting until 65. There's lots of fun things to do out there in the world. Not that school isn't fun, but it's economically strapping to consider having to purchase fully your own health insurance. And I know other districts do this. It's not something unique, or you wouldn't be being extravagant to offer it. And I just want to say, please consider it positively, and I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and no other blue cards, yeah? Okay, thank you to our speakers on public comment. Moving on to item 10, our consent agenda item. So I need to call for 10.1 and 10.2 first separately, if I can get a motion.
I move to approve item 10.1 and item 10.2.
Thank you. A second? Sylvia seconds. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Next, moving on to consent 10.3 through 10.9. Can I get a motion?
I move.
Phyllis moves, and a second.
I'll second.
Jerry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0.
Excuse me,
Yes.
so the vote on 10.1 and 10.2, that's 5-0?
It's a 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jerry, for saying that. You are absolutely right. On 10.1 and 10.2, that would be 4-0, and I need to recuse myself. Thank you. There's a lot going on in my head tonight. Apologies for that. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate it very much. Are we okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to item 11, information presentation. Up first, 11.1, our CAC update. Stacy and Leslie, thank you so much.
All right, well, good evening. So we are here to give our latest update on our Citizen Advisory Committee. The first couple slides we'll just go through. They're ones that have been brought back to, just to review again, to bring you up to date with where we are. The problem statement, as we began our committee applications and selections, one of our charges, we realized that the initial charge we gave them was pretty broad, so we did tighten this up a little bit, since I believe this was bought in February 6th. So we just wanted to review that and show again what the charge for this committee, with the expectation bringing this back by June 4th, is to develop a concrete plan to use facilities in a way that takes into account both immediate, urgent budgetary issues as well as provide long-term fiscal solvency and stability. So I think that urgency was added into that had been omitted during our first time we presented the charge. The plan must also address ways to balance enrollment on concert with the board stated criteria guiding principles for both elementary and middle schools across the entire district. And again, our first draft is we are hoping will be ready to present to the board on June 4th. Timeline-wise, last time we presented, we were just had finished off the application process, collected applications. We are now right on schedule, happy to present. It was a very daunting task. Our outside contractor, Min Lee, did an amazing job in fitting in all the interviews. So he actually set up, tried to do a face-to-face interview with every applicant. There were a few that were not able to meet face-to-face, but he did a phone conversation with them, and those interviews ranged from about 45 minutes to 60 minutes per person, and that was all accomplished over that 2-week span. What we committed to is following after our CAC meetings, we'll be coming back to the board to present and debrief. We'll do that prior to the board. We are strategizing on how best to get out the communication in a timely manner after every CAC meeting. One of our first topics that we'll meet with the CAC is about that joint communication and what are those important points that we need to get out so that those that aren't selected to be on the committee, as well as our stakeholders and community at large, can follow along and stay abreast as what happens. We'll be moving at a very fast pace. First meeting being March 19th. That doesn't leave a lot of time between that June 4th, so we want to keep that information out there as much as possible. And again, we'll be bringing back the information to the board as we go. Our CAC selection, what we're really looking at is trying to have a wide representation. Again, we wanted to have this as an outside contractor to keep it neutral. We hired Min Lee he actually did all of the facilitation with the applicants, meeting with them, scheduling with them, and then came back with the recommendation. With the charge, we really wanted to have all of our school sites represented, either by staff or by parent community members. We wanted middle school, elementary administrators to be on the site, being a small group. And then we were also inviting our 3 unions to offer a representative, our CSEI, our SEIU, and our CEA. And then we were also open to looking at communities at large, community members at large to be on the committee as well. Kind of summarizing where we are over this very fast process. We had 55 people apply to be on the committee. During the time that the application closed and we met with the judge for the final criteria, we did have 6 that withdrew for various reasons that weren't able to commit to being on the committee or being considered. So we took them out of the pool. There were 49 applicants that then were again interviewed either by phone or by in person by Min. We had some of our applicants on the application, they indicated, and then during the interview were asked again whether they would be able to attend and commit to the 5 meetings. Those applicants who were not able to commit to the 5 meetings, we did remove them from the pool. We felt the importance and the charge and the timeline was really important that we had everybody there all 5 meetings. So that was one of our commitments that we were looking for. We did have, out of our pool, we ended up with having 4 elementary schools and 2 middle schools that had nobody apply to represent them, and that was no staff member, no community member, no parent meeting. So our next slide will kind of show you where those fell into. We did have 14 elementary schools, and the CLIP program, we did identify as having the CLIP program have a separate representative from the Meyerholtz Neighborhood School be on the committee, so they have 1 representative either from a parent or a staff member. We have 3 middle schools that have a representation, and we have 4 elementary schools that actually have 2 representatives. We have 4 middle school or 4 elementary schools that really had the bulk of the applications coming forward. And initially, when we were looking at our criteria, we had said we were looking for 1 to 2 representatives from each campus. 1 hopefully being a staff member, 1 being a parent community member. So most of our schools, other than these 4, only had singleton applications for their sites. The bulk of them, again, came from these 4 elementary schools, and so we felt comfortable with Min interviewing and his recommendation to the board, to the judge, and the judge reviewing that. He felt that having 2 at these selected sites was okay. Had we had more applications for our other sites that are being impacted, we would have considered 2 applications for some of the other sites as well. Two elementary schools that did not have representation were West Valley and Meyerholtz Neighborhood School, and our two middle schools were CMS and Hyde. On Friday, we spent the day with the judge and Min. They reviewed every applicant and why they were being selected. The judge really was testing us to make sure that we represented our demographics, that we had an equitable representation of male, female, that our sites were represented. So it really was, it was a long, daunting afternoon of really questioning to ensure that we had a very well-represented committee. Leslie's and I's role really were just there more as information to address any questions regarding the district that the judge may need to know, and so we were more there as an information piece. Great. So this is how it lays out. You can see where the one representative. The majority of the representation at all the sites is by a parent member. Very few staff members are represented on this committee. It is the majority of parents. Minimal, I believe we have 3 that are community members, and those are sites that didn't have a staff or a parent that applied, but they did have a community member, so they were accepted onto the committee. We have started this afternoon contacting all of the applicants, whether they were selected to be on the committee or not. So we are still in that process, and we're hoping to finish up with that tomorrow. Monday, we are inviting all of the selected applicants to come to an informational meeting and just to kind of review the data and all of that information that we've been out there sharing throughout the months, and have them allow us ask some of those questions and do some of that homework before our first meeting next Thursday on March 19th. So we are excited. We do know that we've had a few questions as to, are we going to continue with these CAC meetings in the face of what we're facing with COVID, and we are ensuring that, you know, we're taking all of our health precautions. We actually have a nice large site where we can spread out. We have our hand wipes, we have boxed meals, so we really are trying to take into consideration all of that as well. But the importance of moving forward with these meetings was also pressing on time. So open to any questions, comments?
Okay, anybody have any clarifying questions, Satish?
Yeah, a quick one. The 4 sites we don't have representation. Are we planning to ask more or nominate some administrators or someone from the schools, or we are going to leave it as it is?
We would like to try to have every site represented, so we are going back to the site and see if they can blast out and get any other applications. We really do want to honor the entire process, and that's where we've had Min and the judge doing all of that process, so we don't want to necessarily interfere with that. So we are using their advice and guidance as well on that.
Okay, good.
Jerry?
I just want to comment, really, thank you for the work in leading this to getting us to where we are today. I know this is pretty important to the community, and being on the, I guess, enrollment committee, I've seen some of your work in terms of giant spreadsheets that are many pieces of paper taped together. Never seen a spreadsheet actually printed out that big. So I know a lot of meticulous thought went into this, and really just want to highlight that, and thank you again for the work and the leading this process. Really looking forward to the CAC getting started here.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Clarifying questions?
So are you as a board okay with, as we find people, since we're past the process here, that we would use our board committee members on enrollment, like if we work with PTAs or something, to try to find representation for the missing pieces, that we'll just decide that as a group? Are you good with that, or would you prefer for that to come here for everyone to see? What's the...
I have every confidence in our 2 members.
I'm fine with the 2. Yeah. And this is maximum, you're going to have 4 more additional members, right? It's not going to be...
Yeah, minimally. I mean, another question I have, though, is that because there are only 4 sites on here that ended up with 2 representatives, but the truth is we have a total of 13 schools that are impacted. When you look at in the year, remember we said this is a long-range goal. When you look at 24-25 school year, we actually have another 6 or 7 schools that are below or right at 400, which is below the standard that you had set. So I guess I would say at some point we might want to talk about if other people from those schools that are just as impacted as the ones that ended up with 2, then I think we might want to be open to that. And maybe at that time we would bring that to the board for consideration if that shows up. Given that they haven't so far, it probably won't. The other thing is, I am a little concerned that I think we at best have one teacher on the committee. We did not have a lot of requests at all. Do we have one? I know we have some CSEA, but I'm just saying, originally, if you remember, we had said we were hoping for a parent and a staff member from every site. Bottom line is that we can't force people to do it, and we did not get those apps, so I don't want to over push it, but I just want to acknowledge that I'm a little disappointed, I guess, in that outcome. It's someone's fault. It's just is what it is.
Can I ask a clarifying question there? Do we think there's a reason for that? Is it anxiety over contentiousness? Is it?
I don't think we have the data on that. I think it's
Okay.
just, it was not,
It just
I
didn't
mean,
happen.
honestly, it takes a ton of time to sit on these, and it was a lot of hours over a short period of time. I think in some cases, people trust others to do it, and they're not overly worried about it. And it's just how things fell in terms of any of those that did apply, which were few, just didn't make it to the end.
So is it okay for us to know that the composition, like what's the ratio, like how many teachers versus parents in this 31 today?
Yeah, it is.
Out of the current committee, it would be 4 staff members, 20 parents, 2 community members, and then under here are community and union. That is a community person at large. We are inviting a representative from the Fremont Union High School, and then our 3 union representatives. The other piece that is the unknown, as we are we're actually calling everybody that applied to notify them. This is based on the perfect world that everybody says yes, even after this process, where in reality we know that there may be a few that turn us down at this point, and so then we would need to look at how do we ensure representation at all the sites.
And we expect that as soon as we have that full list, we're going to post that. That will be online, and obviously we'll inform you, but we'll make that public as soon as we have confirmation of everybody.
I just have a comment. I think you did a great job of casting our nets pretty widely. I think we advertised it pretty well. So to your point, Craig, I think you can't, people either are interested in doing it or they're not. But I don't think we should feel any sense of guilt or anything about people who are not represented when we gave them ample opportunity, I believe. And I think they just, as you say, trust others to do it for them.
Okay.
So.
I would add for the committee's consideration, I guess, yes to what, to the wider concern of if we have 13 schools that within a relatively small amount of time are projected to, be at or below kind of our threshold that we're looking at. If we're going to cast a second, if the committee decides to cast a second net, I guess I would like to see us not just hit up the ones that are zeros, but any that just have one representative who are on that list as well would be my preference that I'll share with you guys, but I totally trust if that's not where the discussion takes you as well.
So are we suggesting, so a ballpark number, I thought we were thinking about 35-ish, or if this goes, like then it could double and 50 plus kind of, right? So some kind of a guidance here would be good.
So do we think that needs to come back for further discussion, or do we think we can?
No, I think I hear you, but I think first is, I think if you ask me, like the priority would be to fill the zeros, okay, the representation from everywhere, and then probably we can decide whether we need additional or not. So even if you take one each from 4 sites, we are about 35. So probably that would be the number which we were looking initially. So just again, a
right.
thought.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree that filling the zeros is probably the most important. I'd like to see us be as balanced as we can. So yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? All right. Thank you very much for the information and the presentation, and especially all the work. All right.
Work yet to come.
All right. Let me jump back over here. So now we are on to 11.2, and that is our information presentation on the coronavirus. So Leslie.
Evening. So Craig and I are going to tag team on this. I will get us started, and then I think he will have some follow-up comments to make. So one of the things that we wanted to do, I know that you're very aware as a board of the different things that have been going on in regards to COVID-19, the work that the superintendents across the county have been engaged in dialogue in regards to how do we ensure that we're putting in place protocols and practices to ensure safety. And so we wanted to first of all highlight the kinds of things that we have been doing, just to make sure that you are all on the same page. So one of the things that we've spent a lot of time on is the active community messaging. I think you hopefully have received all of the messages. We are trying to be as open and transparent with the community as new information comes our way. In addition to that, we're finding that the kinds of comments and questions that we're getting tend to be similar, the same thing as the comments and questions that are coming to the board. And so in our almost daily correspondences, we're trying to respond to those on a more global level. We also, if you've not looked, we have a spot on the website. So if you go to the homepage, there is a hot button that takes you actually to our COVID-19 section of the website. We have all of our historical information in regards to the messages that we've blasted out. There's also a link to the Public Health Department, which is probably the most up-to-date document out in the community. Because we're finding that through our Ask Dr. Baker on our website, there's a variety of kinds of questions that come in on a daily basis in regards to enrollment or Yosemite or COVID-19. We felt that we wanted to find one location where we could capture those comments that would be accessible to all of EC. So as we are getting things through Ask Dr. Baker, the website, we're doing our best to respond, but we're also directing them to this online feedback channel so that on a daily basis, our communication analyst and our team can review what are the kinds of comments coming in and what is the information that we need to share back out with our public. So that's what our active community messaging has been. In addition to that, I want to share that our custodial staff, have been heroic. They are spending amazing amounts of time during their regular day and during weekends and extended hours doing deep cleaning wherever it is needed across our district. And so Jeff's team, led by Todd Shimada, are working to ensure that really that intense cleaning of surfaces, desktops, doorknobs, faucets are being accomplished on a very, very regular basis. The message continues to change from the county in regards to our public health department, in regards to increasing or tightening parameters around what we are doing as a district. And so we have canceled large group gatherings pretty much across our district. We are in the process of canceling or postponing, just putting a pause button on field trips and or vendors and assemblies. And what is lovely to say is that our field trip, the places that we're going for field trips and the vendors that we work with understand. And then hopefully they will be working with us to mitigate what that expense to the district would be. We are monitoring and reporting our absences, our student and staff absences to the county office on a daily basis. So at about noon every day, we do a submission. So we are monitoring daily. One of the things to note is typically, if you were to look at our yearly attendance rate, we're usually in the 97 to 98 percentile as positive attendance. As we're looking at illnesses across the district in regards to students, an example would be on March 5th, we were at about a 94%. Yesterday, we're at a 91%. Today, we were at an 87%. And so our numbers, our percentages in regards to students in seats continues to slowly decline. What I would say is that is typically at this time of the year, about 2 weeks before a spring break, that happens anyways because of independent studies. But I think the pace here is a little bit quicker than we're used to. For our Human Resources Department, for example, today we had 51 staff members that were out absent. Stacy's going to do a little bit of comparison, but this is a time of year where we tend to see more absences because of illness, but it is slightly higher, we believe, than it typically is. In addition, our principals, our teachers started a conversation with Allison today. Our executive cabinet is having conversations on a daily basis and often into the night in regards to potential for short and long-term school closures. And so that we can work to make sure that resources are available for students, and that we're able to do everything possible to ensure students are getting what they need if we were to be in a position where we had to do a short-term or a long-term closure. And so I think with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Craig to see what I missed and what else we want to tag team on sharing.
Well, just a couple of things. First of all, just to reiterate, it's a fluid situation that we're in, and for this reason, I would say for the last 11, 12 days, my entire staff has been floating on that fluid and just constantly trying to figure out where we go next on into late in the evenings and early in the morning. And it really has been nonstop, and it's been very difficult to get to all the other things that are core to our district. And I just want to thank my partners. They've been amazing, and just really everybody, the teachers, everyone. And you saw our last message out, and that I'm just imploring people to understand that it is not business as usual. This is an extraordinary time that we have never had before, and we have to find ways to get through this together. And there are no simple solutions. And the reality is, of all the people that we're hearing from in the community, I hear easily as many people on the other side saying, of course you have to keep schools open. Other people say, no, you got to close the school. So it's actually really, really tough. And I just don't want people to think that there is only one answer or solution to the problems ahead of us. I want to say that in addition to the ones here about the family choice and no penalty punishment, I did learn today that to the degree that we can create packets and programs for kids to take home, that while initially it's still considered unexcused, as soon as they give the packet, it becomes excused. And so really, we basically get to excuse those absences for parents who have chosen to remove their students now and going forward. So they get to do that. And we will be working on packets and trying to look at how we can do that, some of it online. And we are very, very nervous about how do you do that when we know some kids don't have access. How do you do that for a first grader, let's say, as compared to the middle school? We are not situated to just turn on a dime and say, we've decided we're going to close and we're going to provide materials for people and we're going to do online learning. I have friends who have developed online learning courses. It takes them 3 years to develop them. It is not like we can continue the curriculum we have tomorrow by saying we've decided we're just going to have you do it at home. It just does not work that way, even if we wanted to do it that way. So I just want people to know that we are working very hard. Allison and her team have been looking at developing all sorts of curriculum in the event that we are going to close. We are not turning a blind eye to that at all, that we somehow are not going to close. Whether it's mandated or you as a board, along with leadership, we just say we're going to do it for whatever reason. To that end, Jerry, you had asked about authority. We did investigate that. We clearly have authority to, we are supposed to interact with public health and with county office. We do have authority to do our closures. It can come with risk if the state doesn't forgive us those. It could be very costly. So if you take 5 days off and they say, no, that wasn't on your calendar, no, you should not have done that, you pay the daily cost for 18,000 or 17,400 kids. So it comes with risk, but that's what leaders do. Sometimes we look at that, we say, well, how do we do that? Everyone knows we have a tough budget situation, but this is way bigger than the budget, even though the budget is pretty darn big, and I recognize that. And so what I would say is that I do think it would be good for us. We can't turn on a dime, but I do think that we could have a special board meeting, emergency one, to talk about plans going forward. I worked today with all of the county soups, and we are talking about how are we going to get to various solutions. We're looking at the social distancing model where maybe half the kids come and you have a way to rotate in and out, and you can do some homework and some in-school work. We're looking at a flexible learning option that I think some districts are going to be doing where parents can choose. I do want to have an at-home packet/online combo, and so those who want to do it can do it, and then we find a way to manage both, because we do have parents who actually feel strongly that their kids should be in school. We do have kids who will not be able, we have special education students, we have second language learners, we have all sorts of students who really will not be able to progress in any way and sort of pretend like they would because we offered an at-home situation. Well, we know better. We're educators, we know who those kids are, and so we have to be able to try and find a way to support them as well. So I hope people understand the challenge. This is not a simple, hey, tomorrow why don't we close, or how about we just send work home, or even that is tough. That said, I feel like we're going to have a plan in place in the event that we have to close. I think we can have something together by next year next year. Is that soon enough? No, next week to put before you, and it will be for you at some point. And again, this isn't a discussion item today, right? So, is this one? No, it's not. So it's just a presentation, and I wish I had moved it to that at the time. It's fluid at the time. I thought we were just giving you an update, but so much has changed over the time since we first had this. And so one remedy for that is we get to have an emergency meeting and we can have that conversation if that's something you want to do. And my request is before, even though it's only information, before we leave, if I could at least hear from each of you about what are you thinking on this topic, not debate it, not get into a conversation, anything, but just let me know what that is. And then let's talk about whether we need a special meeting or not.
So I see that we have another blue comment card. And would you guys prefer to hear
No, yeah, I think
that? You want to do the...
You want to take that first?
Yeah, it'd be good to hear.
Okay.
Unless people don't want to.
Or do you guys want to do clarifying questions first would be the...
Actually, no comment?
You want to do comment and then questions? Okay. So I have... Sujin Kai. So we have 3 minutes, and Renee will let you know. Okay. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm the nurse practitioner working in the front line deal with the patient of COVID-19, which is an invisible enemy. We've been here over the last few months. We thought it's far away from us. However, right now it's here, very real. And I think every parent and you guys all are on a high alert because, I know lots of people working day and night over the last couple of months. However, what we are doing right now in America is not enough to mitigate this epidemic. Today, Santa Clara County, we have 18 new more cases added on, including 4 emergency responders. So can be very, very disastrous situation in next couple of weeks. So I just want to, I understanding Dr. Baker did a great job. We have lots of confidence on this board and this school district. However, I want to emphasize we really need to be more serious because for last 2 months, I feel our American healthcare system and entire government, we fail to respond. We could not test the people they're supposed to be tested. Right now, Santa Clara County, we have 61 cases. However, experts said you have to times 10 or 25, which means virus is in anywhere, circulating. So for our kids, they are congregated. We don't have medication right now. We have nothing to prevent, only hand washing, only distance, social distancing. But for kids, it's hard. They cannot hand washing before lunch with so many kids. And every day I remind my daughter, I say, hey, make sure you clean hands. Yeah, I do that. I say, who you play with? Well, we all play together. It's very difficult for those kids. So it's you guys' decision to decide what to do, but I do want to raise awareness. It's serious. We have to take action. I really like Dr. Baker's idea, some kind of flexible education way. Some kids, if their parents can stay home, I would rather reduce crowd in school. Leave the school for some group, they could not stay home for whatever reason. However, for entire community, we need to reduce class size as much as possible. We have to do deep cleaning. We have to intensify our cleaning procedure on every common area, from bathroom to lunch table. We have to set up the hand washing station or sanitize. Right now, those are precious, the kind of you cannot get anywhere. But water and soap is the best. So I just want to reiterate, this is serious. We need to take action. Otherwise, outcome is very, very difficult for everyone to swallow down because people die from this. Now, kids is relatively not that much mobility. However, they can transmit it to the family, to the senior people in the house. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sujan. Okay, and I did just get one more blue card. Jean Shu. Same thing, 3 minutes, please, Jean. And Renee will let you know when your time is up.
I'm here to talk about the virus. So we know that yesterday White House has recommendations specific for our county. I don't want to. So they don't have outright closed school recommendation, but they have a lot of recommendation. I believe, I hope that district is studying that recommendation. I did myself. Three recommendations from there I think is very relevant. One is they ask for extending the spring break. That's one part. They say you should extend the spring break. And the second one is you should provide, they say should provide e-learning, distance learning for vulnerable kids. The kids who have preconditions, they must stay home now, and you must provide the e-learning for them. That's what bullet item, you have to do that. The second, and then the third one, I think is very important to say, do e-learning if you can. I heard you said it takes 3 years to develop something like that, but they say if you can, you should do it. Then the question is, to us is, can we do it? Do we really need 3 years? Many districts, many schools.
It's 7 o'clock.
Okay.
That wasn't you.
Many schools develop that right away. So it's an overriding thing. It's not a normal process of developing things. If you have to do it, you have to do it. So those three things from the White House Task Force points to a serious consideration online class. So if you can, you should provide. So whether or not we can, that we can debate. But you have to provide that for vulnerable kids already. So if you have the capability for vulnerable kids, then you should automatically be able to do it for every kid. Of course, this is an emergency situation. I hope there's emergency fund to provide the vulnerable kids who cannot do, for example, some kids' family don't have online access. Then I think the state or the district, whoever, the whole California is emergency right now, right? So there's certain kind of funding. I don't know how it works. So I hope the fact that there are people who doesn't have online access will not be an impediment, will not be a reason for us not to do it. So we can provide help for the kids who need help. But White House recommendation point to school closure and online learning, and that period.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, so let's go ahead and, do you have anything else you want to add before we go on to clarifying questions?
No, I think it might be good to clarify the difference between learning online and having all of our curriculum as per what we're supposed to teach for the remainder of the year, meeting the standards, having all the text, the math, the science, the everything, every single grade from preschool all the way up through 8th grade. That is what takes years to do. And in fact, publishers have been trying to do it for decades, right? So I'm just trying to differentiate between, yes, we absolutely have and have put out learning opportunities that are aligned in many ways to the instruction, and we will be able to put things like that together that people can access. That's just really different from the entire curriculum for every single teacher, every single grade across the entire district. Would be very, we just can't do it this quickly.
Clarifying questions. Jerry.
Okay, so I have some questions, but I'll do that first, and then we can go around and talk about comments, I guess.
Okay.
So the first one, we received a petition about moving spring break, and I guess one of the board policies on attachment here, 3516.5, gives you the authority to, among other things, change school schedules, right? So I'm just wondering where we are right now. If we wanted to do that, how quickly can we turn that around? I understand what you said earlier about things take time, and I very much understand that. But I'm just wondering, in terms of if we wanted to change schedule, what are the impediments, and can you comment on that again?
So I'm going to ask my colleagues to weigh in. Schedule I take is different from changing the calendar a week or something. That is our calendar. Schedule would usually mean, yeah, we could do modified schedules for how many days they come, how many hours, what kind of periods you have. So I take it that way, but I don't know, does any of you have a thought on that? What are they, I don't have it in front of me. What are they referencing when they say schedule in this case?
Mm-hmm.
So I interpret it as because we have the ability to change the schedule within the day as well as the overall calendar. Those are our abilities. So
Okay.
our schedules daily are really dictated by instructional minutes, and the overall calendar is dictated by that 180-day student day.
Okay, thank you. So then, in terms of the logistics then, if we wanted to, is it practical, for instance, to move spring break into, say, next Monday from where it is in April? And I'm not asking about whether or not it's a good idea.
Right. What are the possibilities?
Our capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Can we,
yeah. I think it's a little complicated maybe to do that just because it is a negotiated item, but our assumption is we get to work with our various associations on that, and we certainly can talk about it. Okay. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into whether unilateral decision on that, even though it does intimate that in a way, but I'm not so sure that it is as simple as we've decided to say, although we negotiated this, we're going to do that. Yeah.
So when you say we don't want it to be unilateral, what you mean is in negotiation with our employee representative. Okay, all right, thank you.
So if we deem it an emergency, we would have the ability to make that change, and what we would do is we have a confer with the union. So we would confer with our unions to let them know we're doing this, but we don't necessarily need their approval to do it,
Understand.
as long as it's deemed an emergency.
Right, but I do want to clarify the difference between that. I mean, there's a difference between we have the right anyway to say we're going to close for a week. Whether that is in exchange for that other one or not is another thing. So I just, these are things we need to look at and decide. But to your main point, do we have the authority to do something? We do. I think it's a little bit different when you're saying, okay, so you made all your plans for your break and you were, whatever that is, and we decided you don't get to go do that because now in exchange for it, you actually have to work that week. I think that's a little dicier than a simple, we're switching them. So switching them to me is a little different from saying, we're gonna add a week somewhere. We can do that.
Okay, I understand. All right. A second question is, do we have any input from teachers or staff about sort of preferences for having campuses being open or closed? Do we have any information on that? Any sort of feedback we've gotten?
Well, I think the feedback we get is more from the staff that are saying, we'd like to have our campuses closed. I don't necessarily hear from them that are saying, please keep us open. They're just assuming we are. More of it is concern from teachers as far as, and other staff members regarding sick, and if they're self-electing to stay home, how does that affect their sick leave?
Okay, thank you.
And there is a very real matter of just the burnout, the stress, and everything that's coming along with it anyway. And I think that is universal. I think everybody is really, really stretched right now.
All right. Sorry for hogging all the time if you guys want to cut in. The third one is you talked about this policy of preparing study packets for the students who are out. And I'm very happy to hear that because I think over the last week or so, I've gotten various comments from parents actually across several schools about how some teachers are okay with folks being out. Some have said things like, well, if it's unexcused, then technically I'm not going to grade your tests and I'm not going to grade your homework and that sort of thing. And I know it's very fluid. And so I'm just wondering, just for the record, it sounds like this policy is in place. It's going to be in place. Could you speak a bit more about this study packet notion? I hadn't heard about this, so.
Yeah, well, this, again, very fluid. So yes, we are working on that and on having packets available, both to whether it's interim now and or when and if we have to close down schools. So we want to have those no matter what. We have made it clear to everybody, to our staff, to the community, everybody, no child will be harmed by any parent deciding I'm going to keep my kid home for this purpose. Now we're learning we're actually going to call it an excuse, and we're telling teachers you may not give a kid a 0 for being out during that time. You may not give a test that will make that child's grade depend on that. We are in an extraordinary moment. We can all take a pause on that a little bit and just say we are going to make sure, and any child who is out, we will find a way that if there is an important test or something, we'll find a way to make that happen as well. We will not let our kids be harmed, regardless of which choice they make about what kind of learning experience they want to have.
All right, I think I'll just wrap up my questions here. But I just want to acknowledge the work Dr. Baker and your staff have been doing on this. I see constant. I think folks in the public don't see all the stuff that happens behind the scenes, but there's so much things going on, and you can kind of see that from all the communications that come out. And so there's things. I just want to thank you. I know you've been putting in a lot of extra hours, and I think one of the things I've just in the year I've worked with you, Dr. Baker and your staff, is you always talk about choice, and I think I very much appreciate you sort of taking into the community's sort of desires into consideration. Sometimes that's hard when the community has two sides, and there are people who want this or people who want that, and you somehow manage to find ways to make things work. And again, just want to acknowledge that and thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
It's my turn.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll echo first of all what Jerry said, that amazing mails. Actually, so happy. And it's hard for us to catch up so many mails after mails it's coming, and you guys are doing a great job on that. Thank you. A couple of questions, like is there any duration, like kind of maximum we can close a week or 2 weeks, anything like that, or it's an indefinite kind of thing? You need to have kind of a blocks of certain things. Is there any rule like that, or?
Not per se. You just have to think of it as an emergency, like when we had the fires. You wouldn't say, well, you can only close for a week, right? It's all relative to the situation, but also what you will be forgived, if you will, right? Because at the end of the day, if you make a unilateral decision as a district, we are going to close. Well, then you have that risk of, well, what does that mean in terms of repercussions of costs, funding, whatever it is. So you have to think about all that stuff. You could certainly say we're going to do it for 3 weeks, but there's no guarantee at all that that's going to be okay with the state. And then you deal with that repercussion, which isn't always just financial. It could be other kind of penalties that stay with you. So I think it's certainly possible. I don't think anyone will do it. I will say, and I know that some people don't quite understand, well, why are we putting so much in public health and county office of education, partially because they are so tied to so many other places. The other thing, though, is if we can do it together, the state has almost an impossibility of not forgiving us what we did. But if we go off and do, let's say, 3 weeks and the others only do a week, they're going to say, well, then, yeah, we'll do a week. Everyone else could do it in a week. Why did you need? What's your rationale? So these are things we think about. Again, these are all the things that we're constantly working on, trying to figure out and work that system. So the degree to which we stay at least within the realm of what others around us, and not just Santa Clara, but also San Mateo and others, we're all connecting with one another to say, how do we do this? Because you have to fill in forms to request to get reimbursed and things like that. It's a complicated system.
Something, I think the same line, is there a minimum number of days which we have some obligation that we have to have as many instruction days?
Yeah, I believe right now, so we're supposed to do 180 is the minimum, but when you can cut to 175, right? But even then, that 175 doesn't mean you get to do it without the state basically giving you the okay, whether you do it retroactive or upfront. So you can do the 5 days if they will forgive it, but I don't think there's anything that says that in an emergency we can't do more, but we may pay a repercussion.
So by any chance, like let's say, if you're taking 5 days or more than that, we will have to take it from some summer or somewhere, we'll have to extend it?
Right, exactly, yeah. You can just tack it to the end of the year, right? So if we added a week, we could just say we're going to put it at the end of the calendar year, but now we're getting back into the issues that we have around employees who have other plans and all that, and how do you do that, what does that look like?
Okay, the last one in the same thing is that, let's say, e-learning or partial learning or means like a hybrid model, whatever, if you do it, would it consider it as a working period or it will be a shutdown period kind of? Like what I mean is like all the kids are at home and we are going to do some kind of a instruction from school. So still you consider this as a working period from the day calculation perspective, or it's kind of we are off kind of?
No,
how do we project it to the state or any superiors?
So what I want to suggest is that the kind of questions you're asking might be better in a next meeting in some way, because we can bring back real specifics about what we're talking about. So the answer to what you're saying is going to be, what's the model you're using? So for example, so some of them are going to be a mix in which there are, Menlo Park put out something saying they're going to try this, all kids come for every other day, I think is how they're doing it. And so you're both going to school, but you're also working at home, and so that's a different model, but you're still doing the distancing, right? You're limiting the number of kids. Palo Alto is about to pilot something that's a little different from that. So people are starting to come up with these ideas and pilot them, and that's where we are. So to answer your question, it depends on which one we go with, and we have some leeway in how we do that.
Yeah, I can wait for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have no questions, but I just want to say thank you to Craig and to the staff. I think the communication has been wonderful. It's been a couple of times a day. It's been a lot to read, but it's been great. And I think it's kept the community well informed. So thank you very much.
I also want to say thank you to the staff for working so diligently to stay current and so up to date in your responses. As the county recommendations are changing constantly and evolving. I've really appreciated how quickly you've been able to make changes to the grading system and changing the semester system and enrollment changes, all these things that are very systemic, and I know it's big things, and just being able to see all these changes so quickly, I really want to acknowledge the work that you've been doing. Lori and I spent yesterday afternoon over in the maintenance area, and I just want to shout out to all those guys. I mean, our custodial, our maintenance, our operations, our IT, they're working nonstop around the clock, and they're keeping us going. And so I just really want to thank them, and of course the teachers who are sick of singing happy birthday twice every single time. There's hand washing stations, and they're just carrying on with teaching and also disinfecting and cleaning everything. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. I think from my point of view, as we're looking at these decisions, it's really important to me that we're doing everything that we can to care for every student in our district, because every child matters. I've appreciated that we've been following the county recommendations. I think it's a good thing that we are, and I know that you're in constant communication with Marianne Dewan, the county superintendent, and I appreciate that. There's this ongoing open line of communication between you and all the other superintendents, and so I think that gives me confidence that as a county we're working together and partnering together. And I really also want to say thank you for making it available, all the different flexible options, the take-home packets, the possibility of remote learning, all the different options. And like you said, fluidity is the key word. I think stability is also a word too that we need to think about as a district, and not to be able to have the flexibility to have fluidity, but also still have that stable basis that we as a district can continue to work on operations. I think it's great that some families have the means, and a lot of our families in our community have the means to work from home and have been encouraged to work from home, but we have to remember that not everybody has that. And so I really think it's important that we as a community care for everybody in the community. And that's how we can do this. I mean, this has never happened in our lifetime before, and it's unprecedented, and we have to take extraordinary measures to protect everybody, but that also means caring for everyone and not just those that might be in our immediate circle or those who might be in the same situation as we are. So kind of my thoughts.
So we started into thoughts, but I just want to double check. Did anybody have any other clarifying questions? I have a couple.
Oh, no, you can't.
Oh, no, not me. Can you expound upon it all? So right now, my understanding is that the state has not given any indication or shown their hand as to whether or not they might be doing waivers for attendance-based funding, right?
That they're doing away with it,
relative
to the situation.
Relative to the situation, that unless we close outright and we get the whatever J130 waiver or whatever it is for being closed outright, that they haven't shown their hand yet if they're going to offer any sort of waivering for.
What I know is that our Marianne and others are very, very connected to Mr. Thurmond and Governor Newsom, and I know they are discussing these things with the state board, and they don't have anything definitive, but I feel very strongly that they need to make people whole in this extraordinary time.
Right. I mean, yeah,
I trust that, and I'm hoping that within the next few weeks they will declare that in some way, but there is nothing public on that.
Okay, so part of what I'm struggling with is I think I'm happy for our neighboring districts that aren't going to struggle with attendance-based funding issues. But do you know if that's been a part of the discussion at all? That for here in the Bay Area, in Santa Clara County, where this is hitting hardest, we've got this mix of districts that have.
Yeah, there's I don't think there is actually anything that says that if a community-funded district were to go below the 180, that they wouldn't receive penalty.
Oh, okay.
So, because that applies to everybody. So,
Okay.
but I get that it is different because,
the excess funds,
they have the money that's there already, right? But no, I'm pretty sure that applies to everybody anyway.
Okay. All right, good to know. And then any showing of hands on a waiver for instructional minutes? Right now, we're still being told we need to.
When that talks about schedule, I think there are, we'll see. Again, let us come back with that, but I know that in other times of emergency and you've had to adjust schedule, they generally have allowed for that within the potential. But I don't know, do we have to fill out the J whatever form for that if we're just changing minutes, Okay, so as long as we stay at the, which we're above at this point, but.
It would be more focused on the date right now.
Right.
With the changes we want.
Right, okay, yeah.
Okay. And then.
But I will say that across California, a few of the places that are piloting some of these remote learning, flexible learning, et cetera, are somehow, whether they were allowed to or not, are modifying schedules in ways in terms of counting minutes at the school, because when you add the at-home element, it's different in the same way you do with home and hospital care or you do with independent study, which is actually really different. But these are the things we have to look into, in other words.
Okay. And then I had a question, the other slide that we had up. Do we have any update on sort of the social distancing? I know in our classrooms they're really trying to maintain all of that. I know there's been some talk about lunch tables and if there's something we can do about that. Do we know about recess and lunch if we're?
Yeah, I know we talked about that a little bit. What did we talk about in terms of what schools might be doing or need to do around lunch, tables, having the distance, all those kind of things?
So when we met with principals on Monday, we did have a discussion about it because it was something that came up. And so they were going to be looking at schedules to determine, is there a way to do staggering? Is it possible? Is it not possible? If it was not possible, what are other things that can be put in place? And so I think for some schools, maybe they have implemented a shift and others don't have the same flexibility. It could have to do with not enough staff for the supervision or the timing doesn't work out, but we'll continue to work with them on it.
Okay. And then I'm not sure if this is for you or for Stacy, but I know
probably Stacy.
Probably Stacy. So with our staff right now, I think it came up earlier about, is it sick time? Is it against personal leave? Do we have any latitude there, or are we bound by our contracts? How does that work?
Well, we are bound by the contract, but we are trying to relaxing on some of our requirements. So PN, it basically comes out of sick leave. So we are encouraging staff that feel the need to stay home to take either PN or sick leave.
Okay.
As they approach and are running out of that time, then they can go into, we do extend a leave, which puts them into differential pay to continue to help support them. So we've sent out to our staff or those that have contacted us, if they are at that point where it looks like they have used up all of their accrued sick and PN leave, to have a conversation with us, and we will try to work something out. Again, we want to try and support them as much as possible. We're relaxing on, it had been if you're out for 3 days, required a doctor's note. We know that we don't want to be sending our employees to the doctor that don't need to be going because our physicians are busy enough as it is. So we're trying to relax and really work with them on that as well. And Kai has been great, just staying in close communication with him and updating him, and he updates us with what's going on with staff.
Thank you for that. Okay. So I think that's it on my clarifying questions. Do you guys want me to just go ahead with my comments and then we can wrap back around? Is that good? Okay. So I guess I do want to echo what my colleagues have said here. I think as board members, we're tasked with not just understanding and overseeing, but really sort of with an inside lens of sort of what's going on within the district. And so I just really do want the community to know that from the inside, everything that I see right now is hero work. And so thank you. So I just think that the lifting and the stretching and trying to pivot this enormous district into this new reality right now is a really big undertaking. And I think I am enormously thankful for all the work that's been done so far, and I know there's still more to come. I am in favor of a special meeting. I think to figure out what our next steps need to be sooner rather than later, so I'll hear from my colleagues if they're in favor of that as well. I think I'm really proud of the fact that CUSD, that we've been leaders so far out in front in the county on providing reassurance to our community that we're not enforcing any of our attendance or truancy related policies in light of the situation, and that we're really, relieving some of that pressure around grading and assessment and testing. I think it's really important to help our community sort of cope in these ways, and so I'm proud that we've been able to be out in front doing those things. And I'm also hoping that we will continue to help lead this county with options for families. And I think what I've been wrestling with is that, on the one hand, I absolutely am thankful for and believe that we've been getting excellent guidance from our public health department. I think we're lucky to have such a robust public health department here in Santa Clara County. And, much like our staff has just been amazing with communication, I think they have as well, and adapting to this crazy fluid situation that we're all facing. I do believe that we have a moral imperative and a social contract to continue to be as safe a place as we can be for every child who needs it. We must do this because our reality is that we do have vulnerable children and families in this district who will rely on our schools to remain open as long as it's safe for us to do so. And I think that's what we're all wrestling with is safety. I also believe that we have a moral imperative and a social contract to do everything that we can to empower our families. And empower is really the key word there for me. Empower our families who do feel secure in their ability to make the decision to socially distance further by keeping kids home to do so if they choose. And I think we must also do this because the more families who can social distance by keeping kids home and who make the choice to do so, the more we will continue to contribute to flattening the curve in our community. And I also believe that this will help to protect both our staff and our students who need our safe spaces by reducing their exposure and creating more room for social distancing within our schools. For me right now, I think one of my, personal issues I'm struggling with is I think we strive for excellence and perfection here. And right now I think perfection is out the window and patience and grace and embracing stumbles while we still hold this course in rolling out what needs to come next for our community is sort of the new norm. And I think what it will take for us to be leaders. So that's where I'm at.
Oh, sure. I'll go next here then. Just have a lot I want to say, but I'll try to keep it short. So I'll be honest. I think a week ago when we started, Dr. Baker had shared some of the advisory from some of the county level discussions and such. There were things in there I wasn't happy with. And I'll be honest. I have 2 kids in middle school, and remember at the top of the document there was something about. We don't recommend closure because, among other things, kids are not at high risk of catching anything serious. And therefore, and all these, but basically they say that if there's a case, and then we'll evaluate if we should do something. And I wonder if people who wrote that actually have kids in the district. I think one of the speakers said, sending your kids off to battlefield. I have a little bit of that feeling every morning. Right. There's a part of me, and my wife wants us to keep our kids home. But I feel like it would be very hypocritical for me to run a system where it's like this and I just yank my own kids home and they stay home. But I do recognize, I think Sylvia made some good points here. I said we were a very diverse district, lots of different circumstances. And so we have to consider everyone. I guess where I am right now is at a high level, without getting into the details, is I favor taking action now to increase the social distance in the schools. And however we do that, you talked about shifts, study packets, even potentially closure, right? I don't want to take that off the table, but I understand that will cause hardship for a lot of folks. That really should be the last resort. And I think we have other tools, remote learning. And so I am in favor of a special meeting. I like to have that as soon as possible, right? Just because I do feel like I don't need to, everyone's read about the coronavirus thing, so let me just see. I guess that's pretty much it. I just wish, I do want to echo again, I know I've said this before, what the district has done. I think just all these changes to the semester system and grading and having the packets out there. But 87% still feels a little high to me, right? Because if we had any place else in the county where hundreds or 1,000 like our middle schools got together and sort of interacted the way we don't have anything like that anywhere else, but we have it in the schools today. And I know there are logistics. There are people who can't afford, who have to have the schools open, and we should find some ways to support that. So I'm not here saying we should close the schools, but I really want for us to actively now plan for these steps. And I'm very happy to hear Dr. Baker that working on this. So as soon as we can have the special meeting, just do that as soon as possible. All right. Thank you.
Okay, I think pretty much we all are talking the same. I think we all are in an agreement on that, and sooner the better we can have a special meeting. Only one question, whether it's was considered as a clarifying question or not. So we are getting a lot of the federal aid and things like that. They are saying that $8 billion and things like that, and probably California also may get some money. So is there anything for the education? I know that you probably may not have and an answer for that, but I want to think on that as well, because especially when you are going to have some kind of a new method you're trying to introduce, so probably that may cost something for us, and if there is a way for us to backfill that from the whatever aid we are going to get it, because where is this money going anyway? So if we can explore that and get something for us or each district, that would be great. So we should look into that. Money should not be a big issue in this case, kind of. Thank you.
Sylvia or Phyllis?
I'm in favor of a meeting.
All right. So shall we wait for agenda planning to kind of talk about if there's anything else people want to see on it? Okay. All right, so we'll hold on that. Anything else on this item before I move us along here? So this is a meeting of the board, and it is held in public, but we need to stick to our agenda that we published so that everybody in the community knows what's on our, what will be spoken about, so they have an equal opportunity to come and speak. So I'm going to move us along to 11.3, Assurance of Compliance 2020, Significant Disproportionality, Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services. And hi, welcome, Jennifer.
Oh no, I messed it up. Sorry.
Okay. So I'm going to be receiving a potential meeting. We're going to be talking tonight about significant disproportionality. So as I talked about in my last presentation, every year we have 14 indicators that come from the Department of Education, reviews every district on how they're doing on those indicators of their overall special education practices and health.
That one. This one? Yes. Thank you. Okay. So there are 14 indicators, and indicators 9 and 10 are about disproportionality in how we identify students for special education. Indicator 9 is overall disproportionality, whether or not we have over-identified students. Oh, thank you. Okay, so whether or not we have over-identified students in certain ethnic and racial categories. And so that's just overall too many students of a certain category in special education. And then indicator 10 is whether or not a particular eligibility is overrepresented in a particular category. So the racial and ethnic areas that are looked at are African American, Asian, Hispanic, American Indian, multiple ethnicities, Pacific Islander, and white. So every year we are reviewed for disproportionality. If you are found to be disproportionate in any area for 3 years in a row, then you are called significantly disproportionate. So and that's where we are now. We've been found to be significantly disproportionate in identifying Hispanics in general for special education across all the eligibility categories, and then specifically in specific learning disabilities, and also in other health impairment. And then we've also been found to be significantly disproportionate in over-identifying African American students in specific learning disabilities. Okay, and it's a big deal, and it should be a big deal. State asks us when this happens, when we're in this category, to start a very intensive process to look at our practices and to try to figure out what's going on. Why do we have too many students in a particular category in special education? So we're required to gather data, complete a very, very comprehensive root cause analysis. So we look at suspension, we look at attendance, we look at both our quantitative and qualitative data as far as teacher retention, whether we've had a lot of turnover in our teachers. We look at just everything you can possibly imagine, and we, as a group, try to imagine what it is that's going on. Now, that group has to be a very comprehensive stakeholder group. So the group has to include special education director, general education directors, principals, general education teachers, special education teachers, community members, and students. So we want to really do a deep dive into figuring out what's going on. Once we have gone through our root cause analysis, we have to create a plan for addressing those root causes, gather feedback on that plan from our stakeholder groups, and then create a plan to implement, and then we have to really carefully monitor that implementation. The state requires us to submit our dates, and we have quarterly reports we have to do on our progress. Okay, that plan is called the Coordinated Early Intervening Services Plan. And that plan has to be targeted to students mostly before they are identified for special education. And as a matter of fact, we have to track who gets the coordinated early intervening services and whether or not they later become eligible for special education. So we have to report then annually a big report. We have to quarterly report, so then we have a big report we have to do annually on the number pre and post. Okay, and there's a funding part of this. And the funding part is that we have to spend 15% of our IDEA Part B funds, so our special education funds, on these services, which are mostly for the general education services to students. One of the most evidence-based programs or practices that is known to really support significant disproportionality is multi-tiered systems of support. And the really wonderful thing that I love about this district is we are already working on comprehensive multi-tiered systems of support practices across the district. So it has to be really targeted to quality interventions to students that we know work in evidence-based practices. So some of our multi-tiered systems of support that we've already envisioned are collaborative support teams, social emotional learning supports and pilots, positive behavioral supports, enhanced Tier 1 practices in areas of focus, Tier 2 and 3 literacy intervention pilots, including a focus on structured literacy, which is especially important for our students with dyslexia. Okay. And that's all.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. So does anybody have any clarifying questions? Jerry?
Yes, hi, thanks, Jennifer. It's a very good presentation. Just a couple of questions back on the basics. How does the state designate, is there this disproportionate, is there a baseline they compare to, or how does that work? Could you say a bit more about that?
So they look at actually the number of students within each category.
Okay.
So if you should have a representative sample within every category, right? If you have 30% of our students are Hispanic, then 30% of the population in that eligibility category should be Hispanic, right? Yeah. So actually, the bar is at 3 times. So across California, once you have 3 times the number you should have, that's when you're disproportionate.
So it is an absolute measure as opposed to a relative, and it's the same measure across all the districts. So yes. 3 times the, okay. And then specifically for our district, are you free to comment on how many students we're talking about here?
Who are in the disproportionate category? I actually don't know that off the top of my head.
But do you have a sense? Is it like in the singletons, tens, hundreds?
Probably hundreds. I'm imagining the graph in my head, so it's probably around 150 students.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I have a question about an earlier slide. You talked about a plan. Earlier. Yeah. So this is on it, this plan for individual students, right? And does that,
Sorry, it's not for individual students, it's for systems that will support individual students, but we have to track individual students' progress.
and does that happen before they're identified for special ed? Okay. So when you're doing this part of the plan, those students are not counted disproportionately. That happens after they're identified special ed, right?
Exactly.
So do we then internally monitor those numbers to make sure we're not going over them, or do we wait for the state to tell us we've done something wrong?
Well, we're going to be tracking our data very carefully. Like I said, we have to report 4 times a year, but we'll be tracking before those quarterly reports. Yes.
Okay, so you do the early intervening services. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So if it doesn't work, then the next step in the process is testing for special ed.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
In many cases.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? I'll ask mine, yeah. Okay, so can you talk to me about, so you're on one of my slides that I have a question about. Can you talk to me more about what would that coordinated early intervening services look like that's different than services that a child might qualify for with an IEP?
So services for not in special education and in special education are except for related services like speech and OT, but academic services at least are very similar. It's more a matter of dosage than actual prescription, right? So
is this more than RTI?
It is many, it could be many things. So we're not really sure what the plan's going to be because we haven't identified the root causes yet.
Okay.
So, for example, we may decide that we don't have enough academic interventions at all 3 tiers for students who are the tier 1 where everybody gets that kind of instruction, tier 2 for the small number of kids who need more groups of students, and for individual students at tier 3. So we might find that those students didn't have enough access to tiered instruction, for example, so that we might add more tiered instruction and track how that goes. But we might find that students in these categories did not attend school as much as they should, that it was affecting their progress. So we would probably put in tiered supports for social emotional supports, look at our California Healthy Kids surveys, look at school culture, look at all the reasons why kids might not be coming to school, and put in tiered supports for that.
Okay. And then when we're talking about early, these are kiddos who are joining us like TK kindergarten, not who are coming in through like our YCC or our preschool screening.
Early just refers to before special education.
Okay.
Yeah. So it could be age 12, 15.
Okay. All right. And then for the funding piece, the slide about funding, the district must use 15% of its IDEA Part B funds. We're not getting any additional funds to help us address this. This isn't about supporting funds. This is about telling us we must use our existing funds in a specific way.
Reallocating, as I heard Jeff just say.
Okay. All right. And actually, okay, so one follow-up to that. Do you then expect that we would be potentially looking at like LCAP funds to supplement some of this work, or?
No, we actually specifically have to use our IDEA funds. That's the rule. So
if we need more.
So if we needed more than the 15%?
Or does it not work that way? Maybe I'm not understanding how it works.
Hi.
Okay.
I can help with that, I think. I think one of the things to keep in mind is that this reporting requirement and systems requirement was already on our minds as part of MTSS.
Right,
because
yes.
structurally, we always want to know wherever we are in the system, if we have concerns about a child, that we know what our response is and how we're measuring the progress of that child, right? So we already had this idea in mind, although maybe not in this exact format, but this is really the path we were already on. And so I expect that as we're going through this root cause analysis, we'll see that many of the things that we already have in the path, like looking at structured literacy, there'll be a merging of ideas. So we'll be required to use some of these funds, but we're already funding some of the other interventions that we're trying to put into place. So it really works nicely with what we're already working on. It will help us hopefully accelerate some of that work also, because we'll be using a portion of these funds to keep that work going to the next level. So,
Okay. Thank you. Very helpful. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Oh, Craig, go ahead, please.
For either of you, the process on this is our requirement is to have made this report, and then I guess we sign off on it after this, just that yes, we did the report. Is that where it is, or?
right. So there's a signature page for the board president to show that we have reported the requirements and that we know that we will be meeting all of those requirements, going through the process pieces. So that will come after the meeting to you, Lori.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Thank you. Okay, so moving us on, discussion action. We just have the one item tonight, approval of the preconditions report for Cupertino Union School District's induction program. Is that Laurel? Great. Thank you for joining us. That would be me too.
Thank you. And I don't have a presentation, so just discussion items, so that's okay. All right. Good evening. So I am here to provide a bit of context around the preconditions submission and request tonight for the induction program. So induction is a required and valuable component of the teacher credentialing system in California. Cupertino's teacher induction program is a 2-year, job-embedded, individualized program that's focused on extensive support and mentoring of new teachers in their first and second year of teaching. It provides high-quality mentoring and coaching to new teachers, as well as experienced teachers new to CUSD who seek to clear their preliminary California multiple single or special education credential. The program assists and supports new teachers as they enter the teaching profession, and support is focused on strengthening the teacher's classroom practice, ensuring student academic success, and developing collaborative, curious, persistent, and reflective teachers who are responsive to the diverse cultural, social, academic, and linguistic backgrounds of all of our students. Through the individualized, goal-focused approach, our district's teacher induction program guides the teachers and mentors in strengthening best practices within and beyond the classroom as outlined in the California Standards for the Teaching Profession, or the CSTP, to ensure the growth of all students. In addition to being aligned to the CSTP, induction programs in California must meet the requirements outlined in standards set by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, or CTC. Induction programs are also required to successfully respond to preconditions in years 1 and 4 of the 7-year accreditation cycle. The Cupertino teacher induction program is currently in year 4 of this cycle. Preconditions are requirements for program compliance that must be met in order for the CTC to consider initial or continued accreditation of a program sponsor and approval of its induction program. Some preconditions are based on state laws, while others are established by CTC policy. And there are 2 types of preconditions. The first are the general institution preconditions, and these apply to all professional preparation programs in the state. And the second type of preconditions are those that apply to particular types of credential preparation programs, and for our district, that's our induction program. So this request tonight is for the board to approve continued sponsorship of the Cupertino induction program and to approve the program responses and assurances to the preconditions. The assurances confirm that our program is meeting all preconditions for continued accreditation to be considered by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So to my colleagues, so since this one's itemized as discussion action, shall we get a motion on the table and then we can have any discussion or clarifying questions? Does that work for everybody? All right, so can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Phyllis moves, and a second, please.
I'll second it.
Satish seconds, all in favor?
No.
No.
Oh, sorry, you're so right, discussion. I am off tonight, apologies. Okay, so any clarifying questions or discussion?
Just that I think it's a great program. I
Yeah.
think our teachers do really well under Laurel's tutelage and the people that work with her. So thank you, Laurel.
Thank you.
One question.
Yeah.
So does it come every year for an approval from us, or it's like a program?
This request or this?
Yeah, this request, yeah.
This would come in years 1 and 4 of the accreditation cycle for this request to continue sponsorship and approval of the preconditions. In other years of the accreditation cycle, there are other reports that will come to your attention when we have to submit our reports on the common standards and then the program standards. Those are separate reports, and those will come next year, actually. So, yeah. But for this, in years 1 and 4, so not for a while.
Okay. Anybody else?
So I think for me, one of the things that I was kind of honing in on for the induction program is how it's really, the burden of it is falling a lot on our coaches. And I know that with the reduction in the number of coaches is putting a lot more on them. So I know that this is something we need to do and it's not to do, and it's a good thing, but I also want to at least acknowledge that a lot of our coaches who are working for us in particular areas of expertise are having to, put some of that on the back burner in order to focus on induction, which is of course the important thing and the more urgent thing to do. But I'm hopeful that we can somehow still keep that in mind as we're working with the coaches, or as the coaches are working together, to still be able to have their areas of passion that they can work on, especially as we think about teacher professional development and staff professional development, and this ability to work on things that we care about and have expertise and have passion for. I just want to keep that out there as something that we want to strive for. So that's
Yes. So, one thing I want to say is that I'm just really thankful for Laurel's leadership and also the leadership of our coaches. One of the things that I noticed right away in joining the team is that they work so collaboratively. They have a collaborative structure that repeats over the course of the school year, and that includes together looking at what's ahead in terms of workload for the year and figuring out what the coaches' interests are, what the load of new teachers looks like, because that varies year to year. So at this point, we actually don't really know exactly what the impact will be in terms of a smaller coaching staff, because we don't know how many teachers will need induction support exactly yet. But we do know that our team just brings this wonderful team spirit and awareness that, as you're saying, that there are so many strengths on that team that we want to continue to lift up. And so I know that we'll work together to see what are the needs, how will we best address them. And yes, it is true that things are shrinking, and along with that we'll have to have kind of a give and take, but not with losing sight of all the things you mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, so now are we ready for to take action on it? Everybody good there? All right, so how about all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you very much.
And Allison, I know you assisted on that one too. Let's see here. So we are up to action, which is approval of our second interim financial report for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Jeff.
Well,
You want a motion first, and then we'll wrap. Okay. So can I get a motion for 13.1?
I move to approve the second interim financial report for
Great.
the 2019-20 fiscal year.
Thank you, Jerry. And a second?
I'll second it.
Satish seconds. Okay, so now I'm not going to make the same mistake twice here. We're ready for Jeff. And Dorothy. Thank you. Okay.
Good evening again. Our multi-year did not really change the numbers. So what I wanted to bring up to your attention is actually, so if you look at the top line where it says estimated average daily attendance, P2 ADA, and funded ADA, this number changed a little bit because what happened was when I was working on the LCF calculator, I did not pick up the number of kids that are on the COE and the NPS. So that is the number. But the dollar did not change because it was the correct dollar to begin with. So so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So if you compare this to the first one that we presented to you back in February 27, that is the slight change on the ADA number, but the dollar is correct. All the dollars are the same.
Okay.
Just one other change that we had from what the board saw on February 26th was that we went back and made the adjustment to a slide based on what we see is happening with the Measure O parcel tax. And so what you're going to see is a Part A, eliminate the structural deficit to the additional 3% reserve stays the same. But the contingency for parcel tax and bringing back programs, that $4 million brought it up to about $29.5 million total with the change in what it looks like from the parcel tax. And as Craig and I were talking about it, what this really comes back to, Craig's used this number all year, the difference that we receive in local funding compared to our neighbors is about $2,000 or at least $2,000 per student. And when you think about this number with our enrollment, it's really the same number. And we're continually to chase what our neighbors have based on what they receive from their property tax. And so that was the one correction to the slide. Everything else does remain the same.
And if I could, I did want you all to see this, the revision, because this is the one we will use when talking with the CAC, which is coming up, and just really did want to separate out, thinking differently about the Parcel A measure from starting to bring back programs, which at some point we need to do, because we have just gutted, like coaching or other areas, we really have gutted our programs. And so at some point we want to think of those, but there's sort of a top tier up there of the things that we know, even just to start to move toward that stability that we said we were trying to do with our budget, that these are the numbers. And again, this really reflects basically the same amount as we had before, minus the 4.3-ish that we had hoped to get through Measure O.
So you had, I'm sorry, may I ask a question?
Please.
Thanks. So in this presentation, in this version, you've broken it into Part A, Part B. Could you, I think previously we had a slide that just had a bunch of numbers. What's the thought behind
We did.
A and B? I missed that.
Really just, if we're taking it back to the committee, to really lay out the two differences. And the difference being, starting next year, we have to have a contingency plan in place for that $8.67 million. And the idea that 4 and 5 don't have to happen. 1 through 3 are happening right away. If we were to pass a parcel tax again, that renewal would continue forward. If we were able to bring back programs, those would be ongoing expenditures. So just helping people understand the differences.
Got it. Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks, Jeff.
Anybody else? Any questions? Comments? All right. Are we ready to take action on this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, everybody? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dorothy and Jeff. Okay. Moving back over. So we are on to board and superintendent activity. I know we've received the CAC update and the coronavirus update. Do you have anything else?
Are
that
you
you've been
kidding me?
doing last 2 weeks?
I didn't get anything done this week. That's what I will tell you.
Given how late we were on the phone last night,
Exactly.
I think I understand. So, okay, anybody else want to?
I just wanted to know if we want to firm a date for the honoring of Anjali, so I can get it on her calendar.
Mm-hmm. So we were
I was
out.
suggesting one of the April
As
meetings.
agenda, are we doing agenda setting?
Oh, we're not on agenda setting? I'm sorry.
Yep, so still board and superintendent
No, I have
activity.
nothing then.
Anybody? Go ahead, Satish.
I have it was a busy week for me, 3 school visits.
Oh, good.
Good visit, really. I think I saw every classroom, at least K to your favorite school, started with. So I went around. And another event was the all-inclusive playground. So thank you, both of you. They were there, and it was a wonderful thing. And all district staff, everybody went. It went pretty well. So pretty much 4 visits in 1.5 weeks. So busy.
And thank you for representing us there. Yeah, I was really sorry I couldn't be there. All right, anybody else? Okay. So then let's move on to agenda setting. So we know we'd like to do a special board meeting do you want to work offline on a date? Do you?
Well, I think maybe we better at least get an advanced try at it here, just
Okay.
because what I'm hearing is to do it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the condition that we need is that we do need a little more information. Allison's been working with a group of teachers, and she did some work with them today, and just trying to gather ideas, thoughts, and think what we can do. I have a little bit more I have to talk through with the SCOE, Office of Ed, and so having a few days into next week would really help me anyway. I'm assuming you would want to do it next week.
Does it need a week advance thing or no?
So for us to call a special board meeting, we don't need to post for Friday all the way to, just 24 hours for that, so.
Yeah, so, I don't know, Allison, do you have any special requests or thought on that, since you're the one who's been gathering most of those things? All right.
Is Tuesday too soon?
I think we can do that. I know we have the FMPC. Is that happening, Jeff? The steering committee for the facility master plan? Okay. Do you need to? Can we do that? Can we still have this one and then you'll do that, or is it? Yeah. Well, that's over at 6 anyway, right?
It is. As long as we can have the meeting with the 2 board members that represent us, that would be really helpful. That's at 4 o'clock, and it's going to be a conference call.
Okay, yeah. So we'll do
But if it's not over till 6, getting back to here by.
We'll do it on a conference call for that meeting.
Yeah, but are you looking at 4 to 6?
We'll be done before then.
Okay, all right, then not, because if we're on a conference call, we have to get back here.
we could start at 6:15 here if
Or
that
we
helps
could, I could
in
do
some way.
we could do the conference call from here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to do that? So we'll go with the 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 7th. Oh,
17th.
St. Patrick's Day, you have to wear green.
We get green beer at our meeting?
A green beard.
That wasn't what I had in mind.
All right.
But thanks.
And I think, didn't we have did we have a board meeting on Valentine's Day this year? Anyway, we're on the holidays.
You brought us flowers. I think.
Maybe that was last year. Okay. So the 17th, and then obviously we're going to agendize it as discussion. Does it need to be discussion action? Should there be?
Let me.
You want to think on that?
Yeah, I'm probably do discussion/action just in case there's something we have to take action on.
Okay.
But I'm not sure the conversation has to end with action. It can end with
just be
direction.
direction.
So
Okay.
I'll work on that.
All right, and I know some of the things we talked about tonight for the agenda. I'll just throw out some that I know came up. Was the more info on what might be available as far as both supporting social distancing at schools versus supporting social distancing for those who might choose to be empowered to take their kids out, and then the remote learning that goes with that. What else would we like to see on an agenda?
I thought the various options, right? It's
Options.
I think options and flexibility on that, or choice, as you said, choice and all those stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think
I heard
just,
that.
yeah, even if you put a.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't
Yeah,
discuss it much more. Yeah.
So it's just social distancing and.
Social distancing options. If people like the idea
Sure.
of some kind of option
Yeah.
possibility, consider closure in some sense, and certainly being ready to adjust to potential closures. Yeah, all that. So
It'll be good to say some impact also, like which any if at all anything on the minimum days or financial anything, if we can get it. It'll be good for us to make a decision.
So any sort of
just to be clear, without getting into discussion, my hope is to bring one, maybe two options for here's some plans that we really could do by certain dates and what it might look like and what it would take to get there. So I'm trying to have the time to put something like that together, and then you'll debate it. You'll say, I want this, no, I want, and we'll play with it. And at the end, you'll either give specific direction or you'll say, go do a little more and come back.
Okay. The only thing that I think didn't come up tonight that in tandem with that is sort of the question around understanding and providing some reassurance around free and reduced price nutrition program for those options. So would we be
Yeah, well,
able to?
just to be clear, it's a law. We're required to do it. We will do it. We will have a plan. No matter what we do, we're going to do that tomorrow, whether we close or don't close. We always will follow the rules. So yes, we will. We can explain more about that.
Yeah.
Depending on what option we choose, but it must include that. So that.
So whatever options you bring us, will okay.
Yeah.
Do I have anything else on my list? Does anybody else have anything?
Just can we confirm a date for Anjali?
Thank you, Phyllis. Okay, so I thought she couldn't make the date you had said she couldn't make the dates in April, and we were looking to that first meeting in May, I thought?
Right, we could do
Okay.
that.
That's
yeah.
what she said,
If
right?
that works for everybody here.
We have it as May 7th on the agenda.
Okay, then I will. I haven't
That came
confirmed that
from-
with her yet, but
Yeah.
when I mentioned that as a possibility, she said that would work, so I'll confirm it.
All right, so we'll do May 7th. It sounds like, Renee.
All right.
Do I have that right?
May 7th.
Okay. And then anything else?
Will we be discussing the results of Measure O at some point? Or no? Or act?
What's Measure O?
Oh, that's we forget.
We moved on. We could, if you feel like that's something.
Do we? Yeah.
Yeah, we could do it. Should we?
As a group, yeah. So.
Sure. You want to do that? Sure. So we'll add that as just kind of a discussion, I guess.
Discussion item on, yeah.
Yeah.
Not at the, are we talking about at the special meeting? We're talking about our next regular? You and I can talk about when the best time to agendize
Separate.
that.
I think we talked at one point about, do we do that at the advance? Because that seems like a good time to reset and say, what are we doing now given? So maybe we put that as part of the advance. Is that, did we?
We're hoping to get that back in register first.
Right. Yeah, okay, so in advance. Okay.
And then you and I talked about 2x2s for Cupertino to restart that again. So I know it's not for, well.
Right.
Well, that gives us a.
Yeah, so I do have a meeting with Deb and Polly to talk about that a bit, and then we're going to follow up.
Okay,
So,
great,
yeah.
thank you.
What is that? We'll do that one. Thank you. She draws a nice little puppy. I don't know what she's doing.
All right. Everybody good on that? So, and we do not have anything we need to return to closed session for, so ready to adjourn the meeting, right? Yes. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.